So just a quick update on the blue 79 300D. We were out a couple days ago and the brakes had started to pull pretty hard to the right as you hit them, and then the brake wear sensor came on. So decided if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right and kind of get the brakes all torn down and replace the rotors and replace the calipers and, you know, kind of do all the necessary things. And so got started on that today, but also got it up here on the quick jack to make the work a little bit easier. Biggest issue I'm running into right now is getting the hub off the old rotor. That is just rusted on there good. So I've got, you know, the penetrating oil, and I've used a breaker bar, and I've used an impact wrench, and we'll get it off. But I'm going to let it soak. But amazingly good shape on the bulk of the parts. You can see this old caliper is fairly well shot, and the pads were fairly well shot too. So I got a Reman ATE caliper. But you can see, looking in the car, underneath, I'll give you a quick walk around underneath. It's actually fairly decent shape. Some of these bushings and stuff have been replaced. So it looks like it's in fairly good shape. The bearings were in good shape. Grease was kind of oozing out of everywhere, which is a good sign like that. But, you know, kind of got up underneath here, and the only spot of real rust that I identified, so we'll go down here, take a look. You can see that the front valance has some surface rust on it, but nothing really too bad. Got down underneath the car, and this has been a little bit of a unusual find. So it is blowing oil from somewhere, and I'm guessing it's one of the main seals, all the way back. You can see it is just wet all the way back there. It's blowing all the way back, and looking up in here, you can see that it's a little bit wet coming down. I don't think that's a valve cover gasket, but you can see, you know, that's about the extent of the rust. Is just a little bit of surface rust here and there on some of these parts, but nothing really too bad at all. The only spot I found of rust through is over here in that classic spot where you've got the battery box, and it's rusted through right here. You can see it's kind of rusted through there. It's a little bit soft here. So we're gonna have to get into that and get it cleaned up before we paint. But all these other normal kind of hot spots, as you kind of recognize the 123, aren't too bad. You got a little bit starting to show right here. So when we got to paint, we'll pull this molding off, get that cleaned up. But, you know, again, it's not too bad. Got some of these spots kind of in the rubber here, so get underneath that. So as we move back kind of from that front tire along the jack points, you know, outside of that little rust that I pointed out that we'll clean up, that's probably coming from the drain up here in the battery box, which just dropped that hole. So we'll get that all cleaned up, pull all this trim. We got some of the rubber is starting to decay, but really no issues. As you look under the car, there's just nothing of concern down here. The rust is not here at all. The body, you know, kind of fill plugs are still there. You get down underneath, that's about as bad as the rust as you're gonna get, is right there. And right there on the rear control arm. Otherwise, you know, these floor pans are really clean. One little spot looks like it might be starting right there. is looking really good down here. Those typical 123 rust spots just aren't on this particular rig. I'm going to be curious to see what the 240 looks like underneath it. This has got twice as many miles on it. But again, Northwest car, you can see nothing underneath here. This area sometimes tends to be problematic. And the roll pan here behind the rear bumper is just clean. Rear tire holder is clean. Got one spot here where it looks like the undercoat's starting to wear off, but no rust. Bottoms of those trunk floors are really good. It looks like the diff may be leaking a little bit, but not too bad. Well, we're doing brakes. We're going to do all four corners. Not sure what the purpose of that receiver hitch was, but I can guarantee to you I'm not going to haul anything with this unless it's a bicycle. But yeah, getting down underneath these, this quarter panel is really clean. Up through wheel arches, just not any of the typical rust you see in a 123. Bottoms of the doors are getting a little crunchy here, but not bad. I think we can, again, I think you get in there and get it dealt with now before it gets bad. It'll be fine. But those floor pans are really nice shape. So we'll get this thing all prepped and ready for paint over the next couple months, but I want to get it mechanically sorted first, and that starts with the brakes. So once I allow this thing to sit up for a little bit longer, we'll get this side buttoned up, and then may take you guys through the breakdown on the other side. There's a few good videos out there on how to do it, but I may give an updated one once I'm confident after getting through this one that I know what I'm doing.